Chris.
Heath.
Love is in the air. I said that every time we do a wedding episode.
Oh, is that tradition?
Yeah, it's a one-time tradition.
And we're keeping it alive.
Alive like my interest in games as a hobby. We're coming from, you smell that?
It's apparent.
It's New Jersey.
Right.
Shout out to all the listeners from New Jersey. Way better than that one listener in Wyoming.
We've kept that inside joke going 3 episodes in a row.
And now let's take us outside our normal recording studio and over to J-Dog's wedding. And who do we have with us today, Chris?
Well, Samantha's here.
Hi, guys.
Okay, but who do we have with us today, Chris?
Janus.
Hello.
Reprising his role.
I guess it's a thing at weddings now.
That's right.
This is Mobius Tubes.
Mobius Tubes, episode 110. It's going to be a chaotic episode. I have a question for you, Heath.
Yeah.
You mentioned your waning interest in video games. Why aren't you swimming in oil right now? Frostpunk 2 is available.
Janice, look out that window. My PC is in my car.
Okay.
I could be swimming in oil right now. If I strike out at this wedding, you know where I'm going to be.
Hooked up to that hotel room TV.
I'm hearing mixed results.
Oh, I thought reviews were looking positive.
We're talking about Frostpunk 2, the sequel to my third favorite game.
Your 2018 game of the year, as we determined.
What other games came out in 2018? I can't even tell you.
We hashed it out last episode. Don't worry.
Breath of the Wild?
Into the Breach.
Into the Breach. Oh, yeah. Oh, yikes. Listen to that episode, everybody. No, I'm hearing that they couldn't just reinvent the wheel.
Does it seem like, from what you've heard, is it a safe sequel?
No, they take risks.
Okay.
Because it's years after the generator is rebuilt.
Sure.
It's more of a political sim than a survivor horror.
Okay.
Yeah, dude, there's like voting.
Whoa.
There's like voting.
How does that affect your interest level?
It sure does, because I'm a Democracy 3 player. Remember that?
I do. That spreadsheet-looking game.
Although you could always cheat at that game by increasing income tax to 49%. And I would just bankroll every government subsidy and then just crush the religious right, and I would be elected every term.
Heath, I think you just invented socialism.
No, there's too many steps, surely. It would never work in practice. But I sure dominated as the Prime Minister of Canada. But back to Frostpunk 2, which might take place in Canada, we don't know.
The first one was Britain?
Britain. The fish and chips were frozen solid.
Right.
So were the chips were also solid. Whew. Yeah, I can't wait to play. As soon as I beat Nathan in a push-up contest, I can feel him in this building.
He may have left to get ramen.
I can feel him out of this building.
I'm sure you're in prime condition considering the healthy night's sleep you got last night.
Okay, I'm still young. I can still do that. All I did is I have caffeine tablets in my glove compartment now. Well, because driving to Syracuse and back was nightmarish, right?
Janus is making a very
I've totaled 3 vehicles on that highway.
concerned expression.
So I thought caffeine might be due, and then I just tuned in to my favorite genetics lecture, because I'm retaking that course. UB's campus, when I was there Monday,
Yes.
it's nice.
Oh.
Everything's real open concept. You know your favorite desk at Lockwood Library?
Sure.
It's gone now. It's probably like a little printing station, because COVID, all the printing went micro compartmentalized. You can print from damn near any surface. I could print in the bathroom. No, that's not true.
How's the outside campus looking? Same?
It's still Buffalo.
All right. That tells me all I need to know.
I've seen UB's medical campus, and I thought it was really pretty. But I've never seen their main campus.
Their medical campus.
Yeah, like by the hospital.
Oh, okay. I'll have to report back. Surely I'll be there at one point.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Are the faces around campus looking real young now that we've aged
Oh,
up?
shut up. Yeah, of course. More closely resembling the professor than I do the student in the second row is causing me emotional damage. But yeah, nonetheless, I still was able to convince, I'm going to dox them, Trista and Steffi to record, because you know how physiology is recorded, but genetics is not. So I convinced them to just on their voice memos phones, just record Professor Denise's lecture and send it to me a la carte. And in exchange, I send them 2017's exams for like further study prep
Oh.
because those aren't circulated.
Some quid pro quo going on.
Yeah, and I'm the quid.
Damn.
And so that's all I have to say about Buffalo. Last night was their Fall Fest featuring your favorite artist, Sway Lee and Ray Shremmerd.
I heard one of the main acts canceled.
I heard a bus hit somebody too. Janus is trying to get hit by a bus for obvious reasons to us.
Yeah. Anyway.
UB is nice.
I've already seen like the buffalo you guys painted a couple times.
Oh, she's referring to your Steam user profile pic.
I tried to ask Chris like what happened, and he was just like, oh yeah, my college friends were like different than the friends I have now, and refused to elaborate.
Yeah, they all liked Sonic.
Oh God, that's why you won't let me meet them.
Right. That's why I don't visit.
It's also hard to keep up with all their name changes. Because some of them transitions, yeah.
Right.
And it's hard. It's actually hard.
Slightly hard.
That's
for
the
sure.
only thing I dislike about their transition is it's hard to keep track of all the names.
Basically, every time I've been like, Chris, you have another girl that's a friend on Steam. Who is that? And he's literally like, oh yeah, that's one of my old college friends. They weren't always a girl, and I was like, oh, I see.
Big twist.
A big twist.
That's like one of the big twists in Slay the Princess.
Is it?
I'm just trying to transition back to games, Sam. Once you become a seasoned podcast veteran, you'll pick up on this.
Yeah.
Sorry.
As the years go on, the gender ratio of my college friend group becomes more and more balanced.
But the composition did not change.
If that's like an eventual like heart disease joke, like the guys die off.
Oh. From both ends.
We got time to kill. What if I brought my PC in here and just watched you guys play Danganronpa?
That's the only way we're going to get you to play any Danganronpa, and the only way we're going to get Janus to ever touch Danganronpa V3 again.
Which, Janice, no offense, why didn't you finish V3? It's so good.
Because it looks like trash.
No.
The UI is at its best.
First of all, we played a game called Virtue's Last Reward made by Spike Chunsoft, and let me just tell you, it looks like garbage, but it's an amazing game. It's worth it, even though the CGI models are just awful.
Which part of Danganronpa V3's presentation do you take issue with?
Oh man, it's been a while.
It's been a while.
It's been like years.
Because I think it's the best looking one.
I remember being annoyed that the map was so much bigger. I remember not liking what's his face.
Shuichi?
Yeah.
Or
Is that
the Monocubs?
It might have been Shuichi.
Was it Kokichi?
No, I think it was Shuichi.
The detective
Got
guy.
the baseball hat.
Yeah.
I don't remember, man. It's been a while.
Okay.
And then I remember that it was because I played using like keyboard mouse, except that one seemed very geared towards using a controller, and I just can't use a controller to save my life.
Sure. You weren't raised with controllers in hand.
No, I was not.
I guess I did play the first two on keyboard and mouse, but that one I had to play on my brother's PS4. So
There is something about that game that incentivizes a controller for some reason. I don't remember what.
yeah.
Interesting.
But
I remember you guys are gonna hate me for this. Before I would just play games on my laptop using my trackpad, but that game forced me to buy like an actual mouse to play games with. And now I'm off the podcast forever for that admission.
The trackpad. Ugh.
I don't think that's a problem. It's just like a competitive disadvantage, at least in like esports titles.
I wasn't playing those. I was playing a lot of The Sims, not a lot of competition there.
You're just signing up for an objectively inferior experience.
Yes, I was. I realize that now.
And that's been the criticisms of Danganronpa V3 with Janus. Thank you, everybody.
Don't listen to him, though. It's a really good game.
Speaking of really good games, this will interest you, Heath.
Well,
Samantha, you've been playing Outer Wilds.
I sure have. Off a extremely strong recommendation from the Mobius
we
Tubes.
practically forced you to play it.
I was held at gunpoint. I'm midway through the game, maybe, according to Chris.
Sounds about right.
I mean, hell, a lot of time is spent on that first planet.
You're talking about your home planet?
Yeah, when you're on Timber Hearth, by the time you suit up and go into that innermost core of Timber Hearth and do the tutorial 0G, it's probably like hour 2.
No.
I'd stop and smell the space flowers.
Okay.
I talked to everybody.
You talked to everybody?
Yeah. I mean, why not? I looked at all the museum exhibits.
All right, maybe I was the anomaly. I was ready to get off that home planet. This is, of course, first-person exploration space travel game. full of puzzle solving and massive revelations. We love it from 2019.
I can say the first time I was like, oh, this game is pretty cool is when I got in the spaceship and I realized it was just me in this spaceship in space and I could go fucking anywhere. I was like, whoa.
That's the butterflies in your stomach moment.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God.
There's an entire solar system and you can literally go anywhere.
I was expecting to get in the rocket and then like tap a planet and then have it like loading screen boot me there. And then I was like, oh no, I'm in charge. That's crazy. I've gotten better at landing on the planet.
I was going to say, have you gotten better at exiting your ship without a suit on?
I've done that exactly one time. And then I was immediately like, that was really stupid.
Doing that one time is definitely on the low end.
Well, I'm not done yet.
That you're not done yet.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Let's try to guess where she went first.
They kind of point you towards going to the moon of Timber Hearth first.
Yeah, if you're a Robert Frost beta, I
mean,
take the space road less traveled.
I am a Robert Frost beta, and also Chris is cheating because he already asked me this question, and I told him it was the moon.
I went straight to the moon as well.
Wow,
Yeah.
how did he know?
I was like nervous. I was like, I don't know how to fly a spaceship,
Oh.
so I was like, the moon seems easier.
Training wheels.
Yeah,
And it's-
Giants Deep first. That's crazy. You just get immediately like blasted off by a storm.
Trust me, I got scared by the first sight of the typhoons. The moon, which is called the Adult Rock, really dark.
Yes,
It's hard to see.
I mean, Giants Deep is scarier because the first time I tried to land there, I just got murdered.
Yo, do she got that setting where it pauses the game while you're reading the translated proto-civilization text?
Did you mess with those settings at all, Samantha?
I don't think so.
Do yourself a favor. Unless you're like a Twitch streamer, turn that, especially if you're a Twitch streamer, pause the universe while you're absorbing lore.
Okay, I have been worried about that because like, how much can we say about this game without like spoiling a lot of the premise?
You could say a lot.
You can say a lot.
Okay.
You're like being an archaeologist around space, reading ancient texts.
Since we are on a limited time, when I'm reading, I do try to read really fast because I'm like,
You can alleviate that stressor by switching this setting.
Yeah,
Okay.
Outer Wilds does an excellent job with accessibilities, except for the no frights thing.
did you select it?
I think I did.
And you said it didn't go far enough.
Yes. It's horrible.
I haven't gotten to the scary part. I've hit the scariest part in the main game, but I haven't seen the
Are you talking about Dark Bramble?
Dark Bramble. I've
Yeah.
seen the big guys in there.
Yeah.
And I got eaten.
Yeah.
But they don't scare me that much. I feel like I'm in for a bad time elsewhere, maybe.
DLC.
DLC,
rougher.
whatever the DLC planet is.
Have you flown into the sun?
Of course, twice.
Nice.
How many
Nice.
of those were autopilot sending you?
The first time I did it because I was like, what happens if I fly into the sun? And then I found out.
Oh.
And then the second time I was trying to show Chris the autopilot that I was doing, and then it just immediately took us to the sun.
Nice.
And that was a good time.
Yeah, that was a good time. As I sat down to watch you for the first time ever, and about 60 seconds later, you were just flying headfirst into the
I
sun.
promise after that, I discovered a cool thing and we had a nice time. But yeah, Chris was not impressed immediately with my skills. I hate the black hole so much.
Yes.
I wish it weren't.
You learn to love it.
How?
A year apart, you'll say, that was the highlight. But actually being hands-on with it,
So
no.
annoying. I feel like anytime I make like a minor error, I'm just like, fuck, well, this run is boned.
Not even maneuvering around it, just walking on brittle, hollow surface.
Yeah.
Just don't look down.
Because then you're just like, shit, I'm going to eat it. Yeah. I've been trying to make it to the Southern Observatory the entire time I've been playing and have failed. I've made it to the Hanging City
Yeah.
and to like other more interesting places. But that place, the Southern Observatory, is like unreachable to me because of the black hole.
And this is technically a platformer.
Yeah. And I'm not a platform.
You gotta get fast.
Yeah. I'm trying to work on it. But
For you, Heath, the Southern Observatory on Brittle Hollow, when in your playthrough did you encounter that? Was it early?
I think by that point, I threw in the towel and I watched a Let's Play. So it was not early.
Okay, interesting. I think that was very early game discovery for
Chris,
me.
this is just the skill differential in people who could do platformers and people who can't.
Maybe. I mean, you finding the Tower of Quantum Knowledge way earlier than I ever saw it.
Well, thank you. It's just because I was lost.
Which is probably the most romantic way to find it.
Oh yeah, but except you can't go there.
The game devs listening to you say that is just a dream come true.
But also, I got there and I was like sick, and I was like, the wall elevator's broken. I can't get up there. So I know where it is.
Yeah.
I don't know how to get up there.
Ascending the tower is tricky.
You told me you found out how to ascend it essentially by accident, right?
Yes, and it was one of my favorite moments of the entire game.
Well, let's hope I get lucky.
The very first place I went was the Interloper.
Oh,
Oh.
how contrarian.
I went there early too, actually.
I'm outside the box.
Did you go inside of it early on? Because I went there early on, saw the ship, did some like lore reading, and then later I returned to like go inside of it.
Didn't get inside it. My 0G bearings were not what they needed to be.
Right.
As soon as you hear the... No, you got to act fast.
Yeah, you do. I went because I think I read something on the twins that was like, oh, inside the Interloper, there was like weird stuff. And I was like, I want to see weird stuff.
The lore crumbs are maybe not easy to find, but they're just ubiquitous.
They give you so little to go with. I would be dead in the water without like the little ship diagram they give you. That's like, you need to go back here.
How often are you pulling up the sound thingy?
The sound thingy?
The gun where you point it in a direction and you hear the quantum.
I found all of the people and like I know what quantum rocks sound like now. So not anymore. Should I be doing it more?
If you want to cross off all of the completionists, there's more to explore on XYZ. It will pointing the gun at the specific rocks will be like, you have identified this specific rock.
I do try to do that because it does give me a little ding when I do that. I say, by the way, I've said I've found all the people. I'm pretty sure that I haven't, but I found all the people that are easily found, we'll say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll say less on that. Yeah, I have pointed it at a quantum rock just so it's like stops bothering me about an unfound quantum rock.
yeah.
The physics in this game is super impressive. I'm sure everyone and their mother has said that. But
Jetpack is forgiving.
it is, thank God.
Yeah.
I need it to be.
What have been some of your favorite moments of the game so far, Samantha?
I think successfully landing on Giant's Deep was pretty big for me.
Avoiding all those cyclones?
I felt pretty cool about it. I was like,
The gravity's hard.
Yeah, it is.
So stud twice.
Yeah,
'Cause it's a giant planet.
Yeah, like I have trouble platforming on that one because your jetpack isn't as good because the gravity is too big. I enjoyed finding the sunless city on the twins. That was cool. I haven't seen the fossil yet because I know how to get there and I'm just too stupid to do it. I think talking to the one alien, I guess they're not aliens, they're like Hearthians. Who was
very
like
xenophobic of this four-eyed creature to be like talking to the aliens.
like I am a four-eyed creature. I liked talking to the one guy who was like, oh yeah, I'm experiencing what you're experiencing and I'm just like not going to do shit about it. And I was like, he's
I'm
in a
trying to
hammock.
remember what she's talking about. Oh, thank you. Gotcha.
Yeah.
He is also aware of the time loop you are in.
Yes. And then getting eaten was pretty funny, as was flying into the sun. And then other than that, other highlights have just been like bits of lore I've been fed where I'm like, oh, this is what's happening with this. Cool revelations in that way. But again, I'll say less on that.
How was your experience riding the learning curve of being able to navigate your ship?
I liked it a lot. I feel like maybe some people are put off by it. I was having fun. I feel really cool when I successfully land and it's like really smooth. I'm just like, yeah, that's right. I'm a pilot.
How been there, done that is now you're getting in the ship after the reset. Are you the fastest elevator ride, perfect hop, jump, hit like boost, just exit the atmosphere?
I'm so fast. Yeah.
And then just quick, like, I'm going to autopilot to that. And then it's like, I might as well check my phone.
For 4 time loops in a row, I was heading straight to Brittle Hollow. And it was just like rote at that point. It was just like autopilot. But I was the autopilot. Yeah. It was crazy.
Are you messing with pitch and yaw ever? Don't you see in the top left, there's like, you can rotate along the Z-axis if you do a special thing.
I've done that one time.
Yeah, it's really hard. You know, it only comes into play when you're goofing around the orbit of Giant's Deep. When you really got to land on that special thing that's flying.
Oh, I didn't think landing on that thing was that hard.
Okay,
I've done it twice.
Yeah, okay, we can move on, I guess.
No, sorry, not to.
I didn't think.
I think maybe
the sun station was just like a vacation spot.
The sun station eludes me.
This is just I'm doing this.
I have yet to land on the Sun Station. I've yet to try, and the reason I have yet to try is because I am worried that I won't be able to. Did you complete the game, or did you like play a lot of it and then watch the rest?
In my Echoes of the Eye playthrough, I did try to see literally everything, and that did not go well.
My fear is that I will eventually hit my skill ceiling, and then the game will cease to progress. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen.
If you hit a roadblock that's severe, Heath and I can breadcrumb you.
Just cheat before you die. That's the new phrase.
Cheat before you die.
I'll just have Chris come over and take away the controller.
It's not like Baba is you, which is the perfect measure of my intelligence. So you just feel free to just look up the results.
Okay.
One thing I'm struggling with how to advise her on, Heath, I need your input.
Yeah.
When is the ideal time for like a virgin Outer Wilds player to start Echoes of the Eye? Is it post credits, or do you do it before the end of the base game?
You know what? Here's the only prerequisite. Visit every planetary body.
Sure.
If you've been to every spot at least once, maybe with the exception of the sun, you can just start Echoes.
Because Echoes is so self-contained,
Yeah.
I'm worried once you begin going down that thread, and you're going to be distracted for a long time. We're talking like 10 hours or so.
Whoa.
And then you return to the base game. Will you have completely forgotten what was going on?
Yeah.
But it might be most narratively satisfying to do it before you finish the game. So it's tricky. We didn't have to grapple with this dilemma because it came out well after I finished the game.
Yeah, if it weren't so against the ethos of Outer Wilds, you almost wish that Echoes was its own little Guarma section.
I think my advice might be in all but name, complete the game. As in, you know how to do the final run.
Oi.
And then you do the Echoes of the Eye.
Oh,
and then you return to the climax.
Just copy us.
I'm down for that.
You're going to be frothing at the mouth to like finish this massive endeavor.
I guess maybe if you fail to get the perfect ending and you're like, I don't know what I did wrong, they'd be like, take a break, do some Echoes.
It'll take some willpower to pump the brakes right when you're at the end and then be like, all right, let's do this side diversion now.
There's a perfect ending, but there's also non-perfect endings.
If you fail to meet everybody.
Some endings have more content than others, maybe.
Okay, interesting.
Keeping it vague.
Man, I sure know what I want to do. I sure don't know how to do it.
Spoken like a real 16-year-old.
And that's how old I am.
What's the level of your understanding, Samantha, of like what you're here to do in the game? Because at the beginning, the game doesn't present you with much of a goal, does
I think it's pretty clear. Once you figure out why you're time looping, you're like, that kind of sucks, right? I don't want that thing to happen. So I'm going to stop the thing from happening. I'm going to do it because I'm really cool. And that's the whole thing. That's it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you literally have a 10,000 word essay of the group project that never was saying, oh, if only I had more time to check this out. That's all the direction you need.
Now that we've thoroughly discussed Outer Wilds, I'll come back when I finished it.
What'd you guys listen to in the car ride?
Brandon Sanderson, A Way of Kings 4. That's not what it's called. Rhythm of War.
I was also listening to Brandon Sanderson.
What?
All right, this is now a book podcast.
What were you listening to, Janus?
I just started the Mistborn trilogy.
I haven't read those yet, but I'm gonna.
Perfect starting spot.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually kind of funny. That way I got into Brandon Sanderson. Because he's kind of like floating around in our nerd adjacent circles already, right?
Right.
But actually the way I got into Brandon Sanderson is actually a video game related. Because in League of Legends, this past split, Brandon Sanderson sponsored a Challenger Series League team.
Oh.
So there was like a League of Legends team. So it's not the main teams, but like secondary level. And it was like called like Brandon Sanderson Dragonsteel or something. There was just a team that had his branding. Like he teamed up with, he didn't set up the team himself, but he like partnered with an existing team. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to read Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah.
Brandon Sanderson is confirmed a big gamer. I watched him talk about Elden Ring.
Okay. That makes sense.
I know there are Mistborn skins in Fortnite. of Kelsier, if you know that character.
Yeah.
So I take it you're reading The Final Empire? Or
Yeah. I just started, yeah. I'm just a couple hours in. I literally started this week, actually.
What a coincidence.
Those are, I mean, the Stormlight Archive series are some hefty books. I think Mistborn is a little less daunting, but that man writes.
He's a workhorse.
Yeah.
My God.
George R. Martin looks at Brandon Sanderson and cries himself to sleep at night.
Brandon Sanderson likes writing as much as George R. Martin detests it.
Yeah.
Have you ever been on the books subreddit and see what they say about Sanderson?
Fill me in.
Apparently, they think his writing style is a little different, where he actually just has a giant spreadsheet. He maps everything out. He has a conclusion that he wants to reach, and then he just writes towards that conclusion. Because I feel like a lot of authors, they write characters and then they see where the characters go. They have a general idea, but not the specifics. But he writes backwards to forwards almost, back to front.
I think
don't know.
can
Is
tell.
that a thing?
I think I can relate to what Reddit is saying there, where when I reached, for example, the third book of the Mistborn trilogy, I was like, there's no way this wasn't planned out from the start.
Okay.
But I tend to appreciate well planned out writing more than the other sort, because sometimes, I guess the characters become more developed or uniquely developed, but the plot doesn't make sense anymore. And it's I'd rather have a plot that's well structured than a little bit more character depth, I guess. I like the way he writes his books, but I can see why that would be a comment people make about his writing.
Yeah.
Do you know the elevator pitch of his initiative called the Cosmere?
I did do a little Wikipediaing. Apparently, he has this giant universe that everything's just a part of now.
Right.
I don't know anything about it, though.
Seemingly unrelated books like Mistborn and the Stormlight Archive that Samantha and I are listening to technically share a universe, even though they're on wildly different planets. And they seldom interact. But once in a while you do, and then you gasp.
I started reading the Stormlight Archives because Chris recommended them to me. He had me read another book. What is it called? Warbreaker, which is set on a different planet. And he's like, there's a lot of crossover between these two books. And I was like, these people are essentially set in medieval times. Space travel is out of the question. What do you mean they're related? And they are super related. It's crazy. So
That is cool.
Yeah, it's cool stuff.
Yeah, I'll want to keep posted on your progress. If you like them, if you don't like them, that's interesting too.
I mean, it's not deep literature or anything so far, but it's fun. It's very easy to listen to, which is useful because if you lose track of something, you're not paying attention for a little bit, then you're like, how did we get here? It's not like nonfiction where you can usually follow a logic thread.
I listen to a lot of audiobooks while I'm doing chores and stuff.
Yeah.
And the other kind of book I like to listen to that's kind of if I step away for a second, it's fine, is murder mysteries.
Okay.
Because, if you miss a big twist reveal, you're going to have to go back. But anything else, it's just kind of these characters, you're not going to see them again.
It's just atmosphere setting.
Yeah, it's just atmosphere setting. So happy to hear you're a Branderson fan.
Yeah, I mean, I probably will. They're really long, though. That's the thing. I don't
they're super long.
I borrowed the books through Libby. They have these long-ass wait times. I think I got this book. I think I reserved it 7 weeks ago. I don't know if I can finish it in the 2 weeks that I have it.
Okay, so what I did is Audible for the first 3 months, you get a free trial and you get a free book per month. So I just did that. That's how I listened to the Stormlight Archives because those books are 60 hours. It's I could do it in 2 weeks, but I'd be dedicating all of my time to it,
Yeah, that's not something I'm looking forward to planning ahead because I do listen to other books too, right?
Sure.
So I can't listen to only Sanderson for that long.
Yep.
That's essentially what you did this year, Samantha.
Yep. I usually read a lot of books, and this year I've read less because I've read lots of Sanderson. All right, back to games.
Book corner. I've been listening to Captain Underpants and Attack of the Poopy Butthole. And who narrates? Does Sanderson narrate his own stuff?
No, there's a woman and male that switch off.
Ooh.
Depending on the perspective.
Yeah, for male perspective, it'll be a man. Women perspective, it'll be a woman.
God forbid Chris's friends from college read the voices. Hey, tying it back.
I have a guess what you're going to try to say, which is during the male perspective chapters, females will talk, of course, and then you have to hear them voice act a girl, and it's kind of funny.
Ooh, how Shakespearean.
Yeah, very, very. Yeah, it's weird.
All this could be fixed if you just tune into me reading books coming to Audible.
What books, Heath? Just all of them?
If the Warbreaker, Thronebreaker, all the breakers.
All right, that was a whirlwind opening. Why don't we take a quick break and we'll chat with you after this. And we're back with more video games to discuss. Janus just called out Samantha for never mentioning Mini Metro on the show.
I'm so sorry, Janus.
Did you gift it to her like you gifted me? What the heck is that Korean game? The Subway Scary walkthrough.
Oh.
Or what's the other game you gifted me?
Love is
All
Around.
Around.
Love is all around.
Chris and I are going to play it because they finally added controller compatibility. Yeah. So it's happening this Valentine's Day. Stay tuned.
We have 80% of our Steam family assembled in this room. So that's how you were sharing Mini Metro back and forth.
Yeah, I started playing it because I think Janus and I have similar taste in games, and I saw it was one of his like most played games. So I was like, I'll go check it out. And it's pretty fun. I think it's like turned into like a good audiobook game for me. It's very peaceful, low stress most of the time. Essentially, the game is that you like put little subway cars or trains on a line.
We're talking about Mini Metro?
Yeah.
Okay, just
in a city, and you try to connect all the stations and make it so that people are being picked up and dropped off in a timely manner. And new stations that you will need to incorporate into your subway system will pop up as the game progresses, and it'll get more difficult. So yeah, I think it was fun. I played through all the maps of all the different cities you can do, and the cities kind of each have their own unique twist based on like a real thing about that city. Like for instance, I think Cairo's vehicles can only hold 4 people as opposed to usually they can hold 6.
How do you beat the Tiananmen Square boss? It just causes a big block right in the center of the road.
You've lost social credit.
Did he have any to begin with?
How about you, Janus? Why don't you talk about
What's
it?
your hour count?
I think it's inflated because it's definitely something I've like left on my computer just in the loading screen.
Oh, likely story.
So I think it's, I don't know, what was it at? Like 40 or 60 hours or something?
Somewhere
50?
around there.
So like, I don't think, it's definitely not that high, but it's fairly high. I like just putting one of the maps on like endless and then just watching the numbers go up. Just try to maximize the efficiency as much as possible.
It is very satisfying.
Yeah. Because every time you hit a checkpoint, they give you an upgrade, and then you can upgrade it more and then be more efficient.
Yeah.
Though I discovered that, at least in Mini Metro, the most I ever maxed out is when you don't connect to every station. When you want efficiency, right? You want to like alternate types of stations, right?
Right, yeah.
So you just leave out all the extraneous circles.
But then your game
In Endless, there's no penalty
Oh.
for not for overcrowded stations, right?
I see.
Yeah, so like in Endless, it's just straight capitalism. Like, hey, you're not worth it to service.
No,
because you're like in the rural boondocks.
I don't know what it's called, like survival mode, I guess. I've died so many times because it'll have like 5 circle stations in a row, completely isolated from any other shape.
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
you guys should have been a different shape then, shouldn't you have, if you didn't want to wait?
Yeah,
Your
Samantha said
problem.
it was low stress. To me, survival mode is too stressful. That's why I'm in Endless.
It starts out low stress, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
as you progress, you're just like, I can't do it anymore. I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did just buy their other game, Mini Motorways,
Oh.
and I actually think I might like it better.
I'll have to try it.
Yeah.
Maybe they've learned from some things. It's a sequel.
Well, no, it's not really sequel. Instead of like building train lines, you're building like roadways and cars. So like it's very similar in concept. It's just like how that works. It's different. Instead of like bringing people from station to station, you have to connect houses to these stores. It's almost a little like city skyline like. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, I like it a lot.
Cool. I'll check out Mini Motorways, and this time I will bring it to the podcast when I've recently played it.
This sounds like a Switch game.
I mean, it could be.
I have it on mobile.
He has it on mobile. Let's motor on over to our next game, Chris.
Sure. I played an amazing indie game. It's called 1000 Times Resist. For people trying to find it online searching, It's spelled 1000X Resist.
Oh, hell. Really?
All one word.
Okay.
Debut title from a new team called Sunset Visitor. They're a Canadian team.
What the hell is that anime that's like colon something?
Steins Gate.
Why the fuck are you looking at me?
Because I'm racist. No, like the most difficult anime series names. Did you say Steins Gate?
Steins Gate has a semicolon in it.
I was thinking Hunter x Hunter is misleading.
Oh, Hunter x Hunter has an X in it.
Yeah, it does.
A silent X.
A silent X.
1000 Times Resist, released in May earlier this year. I usually wait for games to, get a deeper discount than when I jumped on for this one. But what sold me on jumping onto the 1000 Times Resist train earlier, not only was Jacob Geller hyping it up, Heath is already out, but I saw the team was celebrating a big milestone for them, which was that they had sold
Their 1000th Resist.
a mere 25,000 copies, which, funnily enough, to tie this back to current events, is the same number of copies Sony's Concord sold. Have you heard about Concord, Heath?
Yeah, I'm confusing it with Cocoon, I think. What the hell?
Concord, Sony's
It's their Anthem-like?
it's their Overwatch-like.
Okay.
That game also sold 25,000 copies and was rendered such an abject failure that they shut it down within 2 weeks, refunded everybody, and disappeared it off the face of the earth.
But you can play as Deathloop Girl.
But where Concord reportedly cost $400 million to make, I believe 1000 Times Resist was operating on a smaller budget because I think it had a team of single-digit developers.
So 1000 Times Resist is an Overwatch-like?
No, 1000 Times Resist is a narrative indie game.
Okay.
I saw them celebrating such a humble milestone. There's like, oh, if I buy this game, it'll actually make a material difference to the team.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
I can get behind that.
So here I am. I played it.
You're practically a backer.
Practically a backer. And a dozen hours later, I've seen the credits, and I absolutely love this game.
Whoa.
I'll even recommend it to you, Janus.
I chuck the mic at him.
Here's the deal. It's a cool sci-fi story. Very light on the interactive gameplay. You are mostly just walking around talking to people.
It's a Tacoma.
It's a Tacoma. It's a third-person perspective. But no, I'm going to lump it in the same vein as a 13 Sentinels, as a Nier Automata. Here's the premise. I won't give too much away because a lot of the joy of this game is figuring out what is going on for yourself in this nonlinear story. But what has apparently happened is a disease has ravaged the world, a pandemic.
Oh. I'm going to make this joke and it's going to land. What the hell is the Chunsoft, not Chunsoft. The hell is the Zero Escape virus?
Virtue's Last Reward?
Virtue's Last Reward. What's the name of the virus that's after not a streamer, but
God.
it is?
Radical 6.
There's Radical Sex is ravaging the Concord?
Radical 6 is back. No, a disease wiped out humanity for the most part that may or may not have been spread by the arrival of aliens. And you find yourself in like the post-apocalypse survivors in a deep underground bunker, inhabiting a new society that has risen from the ashes.
Ooh, real City of Ember.
And you're
Books. Back to Book Corner. We never left.
Good reference.
You're figuring out who you are, how this new society came to be. I really like they don't hold your hand. You're dumped into this thing. People are saying, 6-1, sister, Hecky Almo, Hecky Grace.
Oh, you could have said a slur just now. I wouldn't even know the difference.
And
But brief note here. Chris liked this game so much that he rolled over in his sleep and said to me, 6-1, sister, and rolled back over. It's living in his dreams.
no, the entire 5 or 6 days I was playing it. It was all I could think about.
By the way, when he did this, I had no context for what that phrase was.
At that point in the story, maybe neither did I.
That's so good.
No, it's really cool seeing it takes place over multiple timelines over a span of, let's say, 1,000 years.
This really
I believe.
is 13 Sentinels.
Right. Mostly play as a character called Watcher. In this strange society, people have functions, and that's their name. So Watcher,
Transistor.
your main function as a person in the society is basically to observe and remember. And that suits you well as a player.
The giver be like.
That was very giver.
It's giving giver.
I'm not going to give too much away, but the game also very explicitly is functioning on an allegorical level about modern events that are important. This might be
like COVID?
One of the... You'd think it's about COVID because, pandemic is prominent in the game, but it's actually about other recent events that I won't mention just for fear of spoilers that are tied very explicitly to the events of the game, and I think it's really interesting. There are some powerful lines about an event that happened in the past 5 years that gave me chills. Good quotes in the game. Strong writing.
I'll take your word for it. You're just, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thirsting for these quotes. Remember the Javik quote in Mass Effect where he's like, "What is the cost of war?" Or no, who gives a shit about war? Look to the oh wow, I'm a Javik fanboy clearly. But it ends with listen to the thousands of such and suches that lost their lives to achieve the goal. Their silence is your answer. What's that quote?
Oh,
right.
That sounds.
He was
familiar.
talking about honor in warfare.
Yeah, but it's just like, whoa, that's the top tier writing that was missing from 3.
Javik was in 3.
What?
He was only in 3.
Oh my god. Well, whatever. He's a DLC character. They just like who's that wasn't written by the two people that steered the ending right where it went.
Oh god, yeah.
No, if you've
say Casey
ever
Anthony, but not obviously not. Yeah, Casey Anthony wrote Mass Effect. Who am I trying to think of? It's Casey something and Anthony something.
If you've ever enjoyed my...
Back to 1,000 Resist.
Yeah, 1,000 Times Resist. If you've ever found yourself enjoying my taste in narrative in games, I would strongly recommend you give 1,000 Times Resist a try. It's not a long time investment.
I sometimes do, but then you give me immortality, and then
that was the big disconnect.
And then I could get an aneurysm.
I'll briefly talk about the game's visual style because I think it's interesting. Clearly,
it's like a Mirror's Edge.
Clearly, this game, it did not have the largest of budgets to work with, but I think they allocated their finances pragmatically, where at times this looks like a PlayStation 2 game. Like very
endearingly,
very bland gray environments, not a lot of detail. And yet, when the stakes are at their highest and the emotional resonance is at its most important, they come up with very creative stylistic flair to set a scene, creative perspectives, character designs. Well, they're not photoreal in the slightest. In fact, the budget is so sparse that when characters are talking, their lips do not animate. They're just clay dolls looking at each other. And yet, there are many specific scenes. They're lodged in my memory, how they set the camera perspective and set the colors, interesting use of colors. I think they allocated their budget very wisely to make sure the important scenes landed with the impact you would want, despite their handicapped budget.
How do I win?
You just kind of...
You solve the mystery of who killed the virus?
The most interactive this game gets is there are some the lightest of platforming segments where you kind of just like zoom to waypoints. And you need to find the right waypoint to reach the end of the maze you're in. But otherwise, you are just walking around and chatting up people to discover how this entire situation unfolded. It's got great lore, great world building. I think every line is voice acted. Performances were good. In fact, there's a lot of, it's almost realistic voice acting where there's not a lot of anime-esque dramatization. People talk in like hushed voices quite often, as you would if you were just having a real conversation.
I know what you're talking about, Chris. When I'm trying to be, what am I gonna say? I was trying to tee up like if you were to surprise me right now, you might hear a.
It has a great back and forth between this high concept sci-fi story, but it also depending on which chapter you're in, becomes intensely personal with a very deep, intimate look at the life of a of an immigrant into Canada.
Oh, these are actual aliens. Yeah, nice.
So it really spans a wide gambit. And last thing I'll say is it had a very interesting approach to how it handled its ending, where it's a game with multiple endings, but
It's practically near.
it kind of, you can really custom tailor your ending in a really cerebral thought experiment, where it almost like, you know how games with branching narratives kind of like obscure where the important branches are happening. In something like Detroit Become Human, it'll show you the butterfly decision matrix at the end of a chapter.
Yeah.
You'll see, oh, I went down this route. How interesting. And then you can see where the branching decision points actually existed. This game, I don't think there's any branching until you reach the very end. And then it shows you, it almost shows you the mechanical underpinnings of what's going on underneath. And it's like, okay, here are all the variables you can tweak to your heart's content. And you can kind of make your ending. There is no right answer, but they've provided you all the context to try to create what you think the right answer might be in a solution where one doesn't exist.
How much you save, Scummy?
Not at all. Not at all. It's not trying to pull anything over your eyes.
Okay.
It's just like, here's an impossible situation. Here's all the variables you can tweak. How do you solve it? And it was very reflective. It got me. I lingered on that decision for that multifaceted decision for a long time, just because it was really good at getting me in a reflective headspace about everything I had seen up until that point.
Damn.
It's awesome. It's borrowing a lot of its visual flair from the Nier games, I think. It has a lot of the appeal of the story of Nier, but without any of the hack and slash gameplay. What if it was just the story? And I'm not entirely convinced that's a regression.
Oh. Them's fighting words to Janus. Okay. Or maybe it's more appealing.
And it's a fraction of the runtime. It was awesome.
Wow.
I highly recommend 1,000 Times Resist.
I'm gonna play it.
1,000 thumbs up from Chris.
1,000 thumbs up.
1,000 thumbs up.
That's all I had to say.
Nice.
Well, I think I'm going to resist the urge of dragging out this episode any longer. I have a tickle in my throat. How many more days do I have to live, Chris?
Are you queuing us up for? Okay, Samantha and I have been replaying.
Just choose any transition.
We've been playing A Plague Tale: Innocence.
Woo! Guilty as charged. Am I right?
The 2019 third-person kind of action-adventure stealth game set in medieval France during the bubonic plague. Maybe like a somewhat supernatural version of the plague.
The rats are aggressive, but they're really cute.
More than Dishonored?
More than Dishonored.
I didn't kill anyone in Dishonored, so my rats were pretty chill in Dishonored.
This is a game I played 4 years ago, discussed it on this very podcast. We're replaying it in preparation of tackling its sequel.
A Plague Tale
Guilty as
plea
charged.
bargain.
To refresh myself on the story of Amicia and Hugo de Rune, we're playing it together. It also just...
De Rune? Oh, there is Dishonored in this game.
It's got big Dishonored vibes. It's even a stealth game. Like, come on.
It's a stealth game.
Yeah.
Gameplay-wise, it plays more like The Last of Us.
Yeah.
With, third-person ranged combat and an emphasis on crafting and survival. But this is your first time playing through the game, Samantha. I thought it would be fun for the fall season. Just kind of a spooky vibe full of rats.
I do love the environments. They're very pretty. They have like cool castles, lots of fall foliage. Now we're in like the snowy part, and I love it. I'm like, man, I wish this were my real life, and it's about to be. Minus the rats. I do wish there were fewer dead animals in this game, just because I'm a girl. But other than that...
Suffers from the Bambi effect.
You're like, man, I wish all this plague and disease was a lot cleaner.
More human-based.
Yeah, more human-based.
Oh, more human-based corpses.
Humans have sinned.
I mean, I'm in a mid-game chapter walking through a ravaged village, and you're like, there's far too many bodies. A town of this size could not sustain this population.
It was like, okay, there were like 70 bodies, and I was like, This town is not really that big. I feel like that's got to be like 3/4 of the town population at least.
How has the story been holding your attention?
I like that we keep collecting new children.
Yes, we keep recruiting new party members.
I liked that at one point we recruited a girl we just lost her brother in result of our actions, and she wasn't like mad about it. She was just kind of like, well, he's probably fine. Let's hang out for a little while. And then like a month later went and saved him. And I was like, girl, I think your priorities are a little out of whack. But other than that, it was a good time.
The story is certainly not on the level of a Naughty Dog production, but it's serviceable. To be fair, we're near the end, but you haven't seen kind of like the big twists.
I mean, I already told you, like, mission 1, I was like, I know what's causing the plague, and it ain't the rats.
Oh, okay. You have theories.
I can see the writing on the wall.
Just like Outer Wilds.
I wish.
Maybe not the most subtle or surprising plot.
But it's interesting. I like it. I feel like the kids act like kids sometimes, and that's cool to put in a game.
I remember being fairly middle of the road on the game when I first played it. I think I'm about the same, slightly more positive this time. Maybe just because I haven't played a stealth game in so long, I'm feeling like it's refreshing.
That new Metal Gear's coming out.
Delta.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
sink my teeth into that.
Snake-eating teeth into that.
Snake-eating teeth.
I've heard that the sequel is like such a step up, and I can't wait to see how they improve on this already solid foundation.
Yeah, the game is very visually stunning, and I think the mechanics are pretty good. And the story is enough that it keeps you engaged.
I think we're eating well in this time period where this video game from 5 years ago, we're looking at it and we're like, oh yeah, this is still absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
Maybe that has some more to say about how the fact we've hit technological diminishing returns, where nothing is like super. It hasn't aged too much, which I think is good.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, it's 5 years. I guess maybe in technology age is a lot.
It was one console generation ago. It's not a PS5 game.
Oh, okay.
It was from the PS4.
Well, it looks like it could be a PS5 game because it's pretty to my uncultured eyes.
But you know, it'll look really good on that PS5 Pro. When are you buying one, Heath?
Oh, let's check my piggy bank. I'm shaking it right now.
Shaking it right now.
Oh no. I didn't hear anything.
Let's do some quick impromptu news.
Can I afford a PS5 Pro if I spend all my money on the new GTA 6? I don't know. Go into the news.
Yeah, Sony announced a new PlayStation console titled the PS5 Pro. It comes out later this year for $700 US.
Whoa, that's all the Christmas presents.
For context, the base regular version of the PlayStation 5 only costs $500. This new version lacks a disc drive.
I was about to say all those discs I bought for the 5.
It will not accept your Blu-ray discs.
Just collecting dust.
It also, in a somewhat nickel and dimey move, will not include the vertical stand required to prop your console upright.
You stack up some George Sanderson books on either side, and then it'll stand upright. Did I get the name right?
Brandon Sanderson.
You just stack up some Brandon Sanderson novels on either side, and you don't need the stand.
So it's a pretty pricey bit of kit.
Is this to deter all the GTX 4090 folks?
Deter?
Like if I'm saving up for a new GPU, I could buy the PS5 Pro.
It's certainly far less expensive than building a PC. Even at the inflated price point, that is the case.
Okay.
A high-performing GPU just by itself will cost $700, if not more.
Oh my God.
I shed a tear for
Right.
the audio listener.
This has received a lot of blowback. I kind of see where they're coming from. I'm certainly not going to buy one, but I also wasn't going to buy a PlayStation 5 to begin with. So I wasn't the target demographic.
Christmas moms, yeah, I mean, it's just prohibitively costly.
It's marketed towards, I think, Sony, when
they're like, you kids like Last of Us.
Sony made this knowing like only 10% of their user base was ever going to buy this. So it's not made to be mainstream appealing. It's made for a very specific type of person
who loves to look at the facial hair on Horizon Zero Dawn's lead actress.
Right. I watched lead architect of Sony Tech, Mark Cerny, give his presentation and showing the side by side. And it's so funny just because he's demonstrating the improvements the PS5 Pro has over the base PS5. But we're getting to the point in time where the improvements are, while noticeable, they're so granular that YouTube compression completely obfuscates them. So I'm sitting here watching this, compressed video on my screen being like, I can't tell the difference. This isn't selling your machine. I know in person it's going to look better, but I can't see it natively before I buy it. So they're in a tricky position where you need to download a 4K file that's like 50 gigs to actually see what you're getting. I guess you could go to a store and see it on a screen, perhaps.
Like the good old days.
Like the good old days, brick and mortar, keeping it alive. But where the PS4 Pro came out and its selling point was, this will do 4K. The PS5 Pro's kind of elevator pitch
This will do ray tracing.
You no longer need to compromise between a console has a performance mode to get you 60 frames per second or a quality mode to give you the best visual fidelity. And this is like you may have both at the same time. So I think that's tantalizing to some people. The only thing that has me scratching my head about this is,
for the audio listener, he's scratching his head.
There's a spectrum of video game players, right? On the left-hand side, the people who don't care too much about the highest fidelity. This is where most people fall.
The Maddens, the FIFAs.
The people who are playing Call of Duty every year and buying, maybe 3 games a year or so. They just want the cheapest entry point possible. Give me a base PlayStation 5. It'll serve all my needs just fine. And then the other end of the spectrum, we have the sickos like me.
Yeah.
We're buying a top-of-the-line PC parts. And because we care about fidelity so much, we want the best experience. We want to be able to hit frame rates of 120 FPS.
And the RGBs.
We want native 4K. We want ray tracing. We care about NVIDIA DLSS.
And the mouse pad with the really nice wrist cushion.
And I think the PlayStation 5 Pro exists in this awkward middle where you need to care about visual performance enough that a base PS5 does not satisfy you. However, you can't care too much that you then transition to PC. You need to be in the awkward middle where you want an extra powerful console, but you don't care enough to make the jump to like the true top of the line stuff. That was my 2 cents. I don't think it's a gross ripoff or anything. I think the value is there, but I feel like the people who would care enough to pony up the extra hundreds of dollars for slightly better performance are already on PC.
What are you buying this holiday season? Write in at MobiusTubesPodcast@gmail.com. I spent all my money on the Frostpunk Collector's Edition.
Oh.
So I won't be buying a PS5 Pro.
Did you actually buy a special edition?
Yeah, but much to my chagrin, it arrives in a block of ice. So I'm not done chipping my way through it. That's why I can't play the game, Chris. It's frozen in a block of ice. And that was that joke. If that's all we got to say, that's all we got. And we'd like to thank you for listening. I'm going to explore the hotel, Luigi's Mansion style.
Oh, wait. Did you want to say anything about the new Yakuza game? Or do you not care?
There's a
Okay.
new Yakuza game?
Yeah, it's Yakuza Pirates in Hawaii.
Like a pirate.
Like a pirate. It's starring exclusively Majima, it seems.
Oh,
It comes out early next year.
Interesting.
It seems like fan fiction.
Fantasy Critic, what does it get?
I'm going to say
88.
no, that's going to be too high, I think. I think it gets 80 flat. Maybe 79.
Yeah, it's
We'll
not
see who's right.
It's no critical darling. Okay.
I mean, it looks like a 100 for me. I'm going to love it.
Yeah.
Heath, are you going to get your hair cut before the wedding ceremony?
I was teeing it up. I don't want to cut it. I just want somebody to teach me how to style it because I hate the if it falls on my forehead. I always feel like I'm Peter Parker in Spider-Man 3. But if I just gotta because I'm there's the puzzle pieces are blow drying it. Using a different kind of gel. My favorite kind of hair gel is just a cement mix where it's just you slather it on and it turns bone dry and glossy. But no, I gotta figure this out because we got T-minus 5 minutes till the betrothed. I got a couple things I need to do. What are you guys doing?
We have no plans.
Well, we should actually
I have to get ready.
You have to get ready.
Yeah.
powder your nose.
It was an efficient use of time recording this scattershot episode, Heath.
Episode 110?
110.
Yeah.
Oh, what day is it today?
Who knows?
We're recording on September 28th, 2024. Shout out to Justin and Erica. They're getting married today.
and we wish them well, and we wish Chris and Samantha listening to this on the drive home safe travel. It would be lightning fast turnaround if I did that.
Yeah, we've got more Brandon
No, I'm
Sanderson
going to compete with
listen
Brandon. I'm going to. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to hack her Audible account and undownload the Sanderson file and then re-download one where it's the whatever chapter she was on, but it's slowly I take over all the voice actors and then. And then you start to hear Janus and Chris, and then it becomes episode 110.
Can I pay you to do that?
That would be tricky.
That sounds like a lot of work.
That's a lot of work.
That sounds like a lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll come back with spooky games for October next time.
I promise to play Frostpunk.
We know you will.
Episode 111 will be
The Frostpunk episode.
Punk cast. And that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. We'll see you next time, everybody. Bye.
Janus is over here breeding us, by the way. He's just playing that one game. This will never make the cut, but
Mobile
Balatro.
at a glance, Balatro looks like that breeding game that I'm in.
What?
Deep cuts.
Nice.
It was like a gotcha game, right?
Basically. Jesus Christ, Heath. You can't just
No, I'm not gonna hand him the mic. He has no recourse for defending himself.
It's best that way.